what should we start off talking about first?
Let's start off right in the middle of it. Right when we're going to have a question going around the round table here. We're going to start with Georgia on this question. When Tony comes back, they want to take him to the hospital. Everyone's concerned about 3 months. They thought he was dead. He's like, first things first, I want an American cheeseburger. He wanted a burger. He was in the middle of Afghanistan, somewhere in the Middle East. We don't really know for sure exactly where. It's maybe a fictitious country.
I thought about this and I would like pizza. Did I cut you off? Did you finish?
I don't think so.
He didn't finish.
He was finished.
Because I'm pretty sure that was more flavorful than it. I don't know what I was going to say. Just
carry on. Thank you. I would probably like pizza. I'd like a supreme pizza, just because I love pizza. I think that would be what I would go for. What were you gonna ask for after 3 months of being in a cave?
Some super hot wings.
Ew.
Just lots of messy hot wings, just all over. Hot wings.
that was my second.
You want hot wings?
Teriyaki wings.
Oh.
That was what my second thing was going to be.
Right.
I could see that.
Now, Georgia was not born yet when this movie came out.
True.
Wow.
Right, she's 9.
So.
It's coming up on 10 years for this. She was born October of that year. So you were...
Wait, what date did you say it came
May
out?
2nd, 2008.
Wow, so Infinity is really almost making exactly 10-year mark when that comes out.
Right, which is probably why they didn't do the Han Solo movie on that one, even though that makes more sense. Willis was very young, didn't see it until he was much older.
That's right.
Yeah, you were way older. I don't think you didn't see Iron Man until right when Captain America was coming out. And that goes to our point.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, how old were you when Captain America came out? Probably about 6 or so. So that was when we started saying, hey, you can watch Iron Man, these movies and everything. They're safe enough for that. There are some risque moments.
Yeah, we had to fast forward a couple times or say, hey, avert your eyes.
But that's a part in the movie that happens that we just totally kind of stopped and asked this question of ourselves. What are a couple of the thoughts that you have, Lady Disdain?
Lady Disdain. First of all, I have followed Robert Downey Jr.'s career since, I'm going to go back, guys. This is way too old for you, and someday you'll see this movie, the movie Weird Science. Robert Downey Jr. plays in that movie, and he plays a teenager. He's a jerk. But he is such a good actor and has been a good actor throughout his entire career. And I knew of him, and when I saw him in this role, playing Tony Stark, pretty much Robert Downey Jr., that actor, is Tony Stark, in my opinion. I think they cast that well, and I think they cast almost all of the major roles well. Did you guys like Tony Stark, the guy who plays him is Robert Downey Jr.? Did you think he did a good job?
I think he did a good job because Tony Stark is pretty much a jerk trillionaire.
Was it Playboy,
Billionaire.
philanthropist,
Billionaire.
Billionaire playboy.
Now, this is on YouTube, so you better be sitting up looking your best instead of just sitting down.
That's right. It is on YouTube. You guys want to see it? That's what we look like.
Hi, YouTube. Wait a second. How do I look?
No, you
You
just
can't.
look at the camera. That's how you look at the camera.
Yeah.
And there you are.
It gets us all. It's a whole 360 type thing. It's
Avert
really
your
There you
eyes.
are.
Avert your eyes. Hi, microphone.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so did you have a point that you wanted to go with after that?
Yes, I did. So we're confining our comments to this movie as if the other movies hadn't yet come out. So we're going to save any reflecting commentary for the later movies. I do not like Terrence Howard. I don't like him as Rhodey.
That's kind of be the only. There'll definitely be a few crossovers from the movies that come, because now we see where things they maybe had to switch gears because they didn't get Terrence Howard back. Mm-hmm. It is my opinion that Terrence Howard is not a good actor. I just don't like him in anything he's ever done, and Don Cheadle is a tremendous actor.
Which comes into
Much
play
more talented.
later, yes.
Much more talented. I know this. We're not talking about other movies too, but I think that it would have been interesting to see him in this role on this one. Kind of a retrospective look as well.
Yeah.
But do you remember the first time you saw the movie? You kids were young. I don't know if you'd ever remember the first time.
I think I was
Wow, that's a really good memory. What about you,
Right.
Willis? Was this the first Avengers movie you saw? Were we that good of parents where we made sure you saw it in order of release?
No.
We were so good.
No.
You're like, no, you're not good.
You had no idea if it was going to be in order or if it was going to be another backstory or something.
I don't remember
I
when
think his first one was Thor.
I think you might be right about that.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And don't derail. We're not going to talk about Thor. Thor is coming.
Right.
We're going to talk about Thor.
Yeah, we're gonna do
You're
these.
making me want to talk about it.
No, Thor, but we're talking about Iron Man. So tonight,
The
what was
Iron
one of your
Thor.
biggest notes that you have on your note sheet there, Georgia?
There's an airplane copter.
Yes. What is that? I don't.
Explain that.
It was the copter that they used to pick up Tony Stark when he landed in the sand.
Yes, in the
You
first
said-
act.
You said copter.
Helicopter,
Yes.
yeah.
It's a
So-
helicopter that looks like an airplane.
It had kind of wings on it to navigate into the mountains type
Not
of thing.
copter.
And it was fat.
I don't know what that was called. We can look that up.
I don't
on
Well,
the
and both of
Googles.
these kids and you and myself, but actually I've ridden in the helicopter once. We've all ridden in a helicopter, standard one, a Bell 407.
Yeah, we don't need to ride in a helicopter again.
But I want
You can do it without.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a good job, the same kind of job that affords us that luxury, but
But
you
even if
never
we go on
know.
a tour, you guys can go on the tour.
If anyone's
and-
listening out there, apparently would like another helicopter ride.
You know, the army should actually use like the mechanism or whatever it's called.
Mechanism?
of helicopters on the battlefield. Blades everywhere. Yay.
Blades are scary and dangerous.
Yes.
Can I ask a quick question? You had a comment, I think, during the first part of the movie. Actually, we all kind of reacted to this one. When when Tony Stark is coming out and Rhodey is getting on his case about, hey, I've been waiting here for 3 hours for you to get on this plane. What does he say, Willis?
Waiting on you now. And my dad has been using it for years. I had no idea where it came from until now.
Oh, I was
And-
so annoyed. That's okay. It's fine. No, I heard, and I don't know if I realized. Is that where you got that?
Yes. And
Ah!
I've been waiting for that to come along here and be known for a long time now.
So annoying, because he says it to me. He says it to me all the
I say it to
time. I'm like,
everybody.
oh, you are not waiting on me. Oh,
Waiting on
it's
you
so
now.
annoying. You're not.
So next podcast will be opened with.
Waiting on
Waiting
you
on you
now.
now.
No.
No, never.
Yes.
Thank God we didn't call the podcast "Waiting on You" now. But yeah.
Yeah, but that was a good moment when you all kind of looked at me and I'm like,
Like,
this is where it came from.
I didn't look at you.
I remember
We were
Willis.
eating.
Willis also had a comment during. Do you remember the first act? So it's when they bring Tony. They're threatening him, saying, "You need to build this for us."
Jericho, Miss Leah.
Yeah, and he comes out and he's having Jensen, his friend, translate for him, and the guy's like, "Yeah, he's gonna set you free." And Tony shakes his hand to him. What does he say?
No, I won't do it. And then
He's like, no, he's not. Yeah.
He said, "No, he's not."
Yeah, no, he's not. And then
Jensen.
Jensen says, no, he's not. And the guy can't speak language, English, so he's like,
Yeah, because they know they have to stay on the down low, but they both know they're like, no, we're gonna die after this if that doesn't work. Oh yeah, I have a crumb on my. That's nice. Actually, that's a piece of.
It's a lint.
It's a lint. I have a lint on my
lint.
shirt.
Run away.
So yeah, that was Willis. He was like totally on there. Give me a thought, Willis, on the movie. A real thought about Iron Man and what you think to you and how you like it and everything.
I think on a scale of 1 to 10, seeing how old it is and seeing how I'm not a big fan of it, maybe 4 to 5. I'm not a really big fan of that movie.
That's okay. That's okay.
Right. And also, this is the only movie in our collection that's not on a Blu-ray. It's on a DVD, actually.
Right. And I thought about that too, because really you guys have had the opportunity to see the technology increase it's been a decade, and you're seeing the more recent movies, and you compare back to that. You're like, you might like the cooler, newer stuff better, which totally makes sense. Georgia, what do you think about it? What's your overall feeling of the movie?
I say it's a level awesome, which I give it 5 stars.
5 stars.
5 out of 5 or 5 out of 10?
5
Give us
out
a
of
scale.
6.
5 out of 6.
Okay, 5 out of 6
So she
stars.
does 6 stars.
I couldn't fit
I think
the
we
rest.
kind of are like having diverging scale.
It's divergent scales. But we're going to make sense of this in a minute. I give it, on a movie rating, I would give it about an 8 out of 10. Maybe an
That's-
8.5 or
That's
so.
healthy.
That's how you
Uh,
like it, though.
I do like it. I like it a lot. There are some problems with it. Structure and story-wise, this is not about, this Ironmonger was in the comics and he wasn't fleshed out. We're going to talk about that here in a minute with Marvel villains. That's going to be a question I'm going to ask you guys here in a second. There's a problem with timeline where he's stealing the original Iron Man suit. It seems like it's all the same day. Like they didn't change Robert Downey Jr.'s clothing.
What? When part?
Like when
Clarify.
he goes and steals the equipment from the Ten Rings,
Oh.
the original Mark I Iron Man suit,
Sure.
and then he's in Tony's apartment, Malibu mansion.
Oh, are you
And
talking
then
about the
he's
third
built-
act where
Yeah, then he builds
Obadiah?
the Ironmonger. It seems like that all happened in one day when they did a really, really, really good job of making that first and second acts stretch out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, day 11. Like, there was a lot of effort put into by Jon Favreau and the editing team there and all the writers and everything to make it feel like, this is not just a short amount of time, but that third act ends a little jumbled.
And before we go any farther, you guys, you hear us talking about acts. So if you've ever seen a play on the stage, they usually will divide the acts up by intermissions. Same thing kind of happens in movies where you can kind of separate the movie up into mostly three distinctive parts. Sometimes more, like Last Jedi was this way. But so the first act is when Tony is in the cave, okay, and it ends once he breaks out and he gets back to the States. The second act is all the stuff where he's building the new Iron Man, the Mark II, right? But I love that you brought that out too, Willis, and you're like, here comes the Mark II. It's like, yes, he's building Mark II. That's the second act. The third act is when now you realize Obadiah is actually the bad guy, the main bad guy. And
Right.
the whole rest of that is Tony having to fight back and fight him.
Yeah, and there was not much foreshadowing of Obadiah being the bad guy. Comic book readers have told me that they knew, obviously, that he was going to be the Ironmonger type thing, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But my handle, _ the dad abides, the dude being cast, we're going to talk a little bit about cast here in a second. So we talked about Robert Downey Jr., we talked about Terrence Howard, kind of jumbling and skipping here. But the enemy here, I want to talk about villains. Did you guys think that this villain was, I don't know about scary, but a worthy villain of Iron Man, especially at the beginning of Iron Man? Or was he just kind of a, whatever kind of villain? What do you think, Georgia?
I think it gave us hints that he was going to be the villain when he was at the party and said that he was the person who filed.
That's the beginning of the third act when we find out that he is the villain. But before that, like when he's in bed, like they wake him up, and we didn't really know until then. So that's when he was starting. But do you think he was a good villain? Do you think that it made it interesting him as a villain?
It made it interesting because the movie wouldn't be that movie if he wasn't doing all that stuff. But I would say he wouldn't be a good villain.
Okay, that's fair. How about you, Willis?
What do I think of Obadiah?
Yeah, as a villain.
Otherwise known as Obi-Wan.
Yeah, and think through other movie villains you've seen. How was this villain for Tony Stark? How was he?
And you can compare this to other movies that have been
Totally.
since then, and other villains like Fire Lord Ozai in Avatar,
I don't
who's
think.
an ultimate villain.
Or Darth Vader?
I don't think his intention is to be a villain. He just wants to make money or sell weapons or something. Something that some bizarre kind of dumb reason.
Okay, so he's just greedy.
Yes, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. Though,
Which is kind of mediocre. It sounds like you're giving him kind of a lukewarm, like halfway, but he's not it's not pure evil.
He doesn't want to be bad. He's just like, meh.
Just doesn't care about good.
yeah, and to ping off of you, I felt like they were kind of weak with his evolving that villain's character, because you did, for the most part, see a guy who was worried about money. He was worried about running the company. He was worried that Tony Stark was going to ruin his own chances of making money, because he's saying, we're not going to build weapons anymore. And then suddenly, all of a sudden, he starts killing people. He's like, nope, we're going to do this and that. Now, I know he called the hit on Tony. I would have loved to have to find out, is this the only time you've killed people? And I do remember thinking during this movie, oh my gosh, and let's talk about this movie only, oh my gosh, was he the one who... Is he responsible somehow for Tony's dad dying?
Right.
And that came up. And you don't get that answered in this movie. But I did. I felt like it was like suddenly he's now a killer. He's going to go kill Pepper Potts. He's going to kill these kids and this mom in a van. He's going to kill Tony Stark and kill everybody. It just seemed like such a big jump for him to suddenly be a killer.
True. But we've seen, though, that he was doing underhanded things. Mm-hmm. He was running the company. Sit up, Willis. Just sit up.
Here, you can watch us on video.
Yeah. And stay sat up. Wait on you now. Just put it down, dude.
Yeah, I didn't mean for you to, do stuff to it.
Trying so hard. I'm failing so...
Okay. Yeah, hey.
I'm going to leave that.
That's why I told you not to do it first. Okay, I'm going to start over. Okay?
Let's go.
So, I think they did set up some things on there when they did that really good opening. So, the backstory was in the prologue, which was set against him getting an award. So, it's like something that you would see anyway at an awards that was in the movie. Like, oh, and it pans out in an awards thing. I'm like, what a clever way to give us a huge backstory for those of us that don't read comics and draw us into the story. And Obadiah Stane taking over, he was mentioned there as a good guy, taking over after Howard Stark was murdered, killed, whatever. We don't know what happens until much later on in this whole story and everything. When he says it, though, in after your father died, the tone he says it makes me think that he did not have anything to do with it at that tone. Yeah. But now that we kind of know some things, it's like, am I reading into that? I don't know.
I don't know either.
But they missed a couple opportunities with this one, I think.
Hey, can we circle back to casting really quick? Since we're kind of continuing it.
Well, I'm doing casting, and yes.
Okay.
Let me finish my point because that's what I was doing.
Go ahead.
So they missed a couple opportunities since it was Mr. Bridges, the dude. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's why I'm wearing the robe during the podcast because it's the dude robe. Underscore the dad abides. Going on in this one, they missed an opportunity. He gets a scotch on the rocks or a whiskey or whatever, brown tea, probably what was in there. That could have been a White Russian.
Oh my gosh, come on.
Could have been a White Russian.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't, no. You don't, no.
For me. That's just for me. But we're talking about casting. He did an okay job in that character. He did an okay job as a performance.
He is fine.
Definitely fine. And we're talking about casting of...
What character did we meet in this movie that is through all the others?
Mom's favorite character.
Nick Fury. Like, literally.
At the end, yes. But what about you, Georgia?
Coulson.
Yes!
Coulson.
We meet Agent Coulson, which is so cool. That I mean, it was kind of fun for me to see him on the screen, but like, oh, it's Agent Coulson, because you do.
That's the first time.
Yeah, and you're just so fond of him, and he meets Pepper Potts right there, and that's the first time you're exposed to him, and it's just cool. I really enjoyed remembering back to being the introduction to Phil Coulson.
Right. Yeah, Phil Coulson. Pepper Potts does well, and Gwyneth Paltrow comes throughout all these movies. They did a good job on casting. We already spoke about Rhodey and everything on there.
While he was in the dungeons, Tony Stark, he actually basically goes underwater. That's basically what happened.
Right, when they were torturing him. That kind of stuck with you, didn't it?
Yes.
So what do you think? What stuck with you the most about the movie, Willis? Like image. What image?
Mark 1 mask.
Yep.
That stuck.
The big
every time.
welds and
Every time like Mark 1 or something is mentioned.
You just think about it.
Like
okay.
in an old video game or something.
Yeah.
It always goes back to the mask. It's like.
There you go.
Nice. That's an appropriate symbol.
Like Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
How about you? What visual image sticks out on this movie?
I keep seeing all of the times Tony Stark is trying out the thrusters, and he's like, and and this just his and one of the things that sticks out to me is like where he's Jarvis is like, okay, we're gonna pot down, we're gonna we'll archive everything up, and he's like, no, let's go fly, and the whole week sometimes you have to run before you walk, and to me that is Tony Stark
right there,
and you see that throughout the rest of his evolution is that he always wants to run before he walks.
Right.
But that's what stuck with me.
Yeah, I think the image that sticks with me is of the old flathead Ford engine on there, and I think I read a trivia somewhere that was Jon Favreau's personal car.
Ooh.
And I'm a car guy and everything in there.
You guys know who Jon Favreau is?
No.
The director, and he plays Happy. Did you guys know that character?
But the director plays Happy.
Yeah.
No wonder Happy is treated like crap.
He may have set that up himself.
Yeah, because he's the one that told him to do that. He was part of the writing team a little bit, I think. Don't have a full credits list in front of me at the moment. Next time I'll have that up and pulled up and ready to go. But May 2nd, 2008, this came out. Georgia was not born yet. You were about a year and a half old. Almost 2, not quite yet. And we saw this in the theater. One of my favorite theaters here, the Continental Theater, 70mm theater. So it's one of the last ones in town. It's huge, 3.5 stories tall. Saw it in there. The entire back row was filled with nerds. And we stayed till the end. A lot of people, we did too. We are nerds.
We are nerds.
But they were comic book superhero nerds. Like they read the comics and everything.
Oh, those guys.
Yeah, those guys.
But wait, there's more.
But there's more. So when you mention it, it does introduce Nick Fury because Samuel L. Jackson, the actor that plays Nick Fury, is in every movie anyway. I think it's in his contract to be in every movie ever made.
It does seem like
But when he comes out and he's like, and they're like, yeah, and they're clapping. They're like, yeah, clapping. And then he says, talk to you, superhero. You're not the only superhero in the world. Everyone's like, oh, you can hear him murmuring, who are we talking about? He's like, I want to talk to you about the Avenger Initiative. They went, oh, and they stood up. And we're just, me and my wife were like.
I was kind of like, whoa.
And then it ended. It just ended.
Then it ended.
Yeah.
We were looking at each other going,
now,
that must be something.
Well, but I feel like you knew more about it than I
had
did.
I had read the whole mythos and educated myself on who these characters were before we went. So, yeah.